What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode number 4 of The Rise of a Nation, here with FC Edmonton in the Canadian Premier League. If you missed last episode, do go check it out. It was the final game of the spring season kind of head-to-head league between ourselves, Valor and Forge. It was a massive game. It was a winner-takes-all. The winner qualified for the North American League. And, well, I'm going to assume now that you have watched it. Final warning. Right, let's talk about things, because since we played Forge, and actually you can see the result here, we lost of course 1-0 against them, we did go on to end the season pretty well. We beat both York 2-1. You can see here Tommy Amiobi with a goal, Sarkaria with a goal. This was after Michael Cox scored in the opening minutes of the game. I do feel like we were the better team in this game, to be fair. And, well, ultimately we did make it show on the scoreline. Sarkaria did get the Man of the Match award. And following on from that, Tommy Amiobi was the man of the moment again against Pacific FC. A 2-1 victory this time. 2 goals in the first half for us, left us in a bit of cruise control. They did score a goal through Marcus Haber in the 80th minute, which did mean that squeaky bum time commenced as the game fizzled out. But ultimately, another good little result for us. And well, off the back of last episode, I felt like all hope was lost in terms of the spring season. It just didn't look like it was going to work out for us. Forge had leapfrogged us. They had a game in hand as well. The good news is they completely bottled it. You can see the league table in front of you. The spring season isn't officially over because Forge and Pacific still have a game to play. But because Forge bottled it so hard, it doesn't matter what happens in that last game. We have qualified for the Canadian Premier League Championship playoff come the end of the season. Of course, the team who are top of the spring season and the autumn season play in a 2-legged final at the end of the year. We will be competing in that. And yeah, I talked about our 2 wins. I guess just to look at Forge's situation. They lost against HFX Wanderers. You can see they had a man sent off. And off the back of that, they conceded 2 goals. And then they played Cavalry at home. Again, you'd expect them to win, and they lost 3-1. Cavalry, a team who thus far this year have underperformed. But they came to our personal rescue here. You can see Forge are now playing in the North American League first round. This, of course, the competition where the top 6 teams will qualify for the North American Champions League. They have got to turn around a 2-goal deficit and then beat Olympia, the Honduran team. I can't see that happening, so not the best start for the Canadian Premier League's representation in that competition. But yeah, because of the way that Forge completely bottled things, we have got that top spot. So that's great news for us. It does mean that in the autumn season, I can now focus on rotating the team a little bit. I will say the fact that we've not qualified for the North American League this year and we lost to Forge twice looks absolutely awful now, kind of in context when you look at their form and the fact that in the month of June they won 2 games against us and they lost all 5 other of their competitive games against teams that we ourselves have beaten. So yeah, kind of interesting there. We have now moved over into the autumn split. So this is the second half of the year where we will play the winner of this league. Now what this does mean is because we've already qualified for the playoffs, I am going to shift our approach a little bit. We are going to be focusing a lot more on the other competition that we're in, which is the Canadian Championship, kind of the FA Cup equivalent, the domestic cup here in Canada. 12 teams enter, including the Ottawa Fury and the 3 MLS sides. And you can see here in the quarter-final, we have been drawn against the Fury. Now, these guys, they are one of our big rivals. They play in the USL Championship. They've got a pretty good team. We can have a look at just a few of their players so you can get an idea of their overall quality. They probably are a little bit better than us. You kind of look at their players. As I flick through here, they have better quality than us. It's going to be a 2-legged affair against them. Today we are going to do the first leg, and we're also going to do the game against Cavalry, which is going to be, of course, the El Clasico. And I think in that game we'll use it as an opportunity to showcase some of the younger players that we have given game time to. You can see in our opening game of the autumn split, we drew against Halifax Wanderers, which was not the best result. But if we just look here at the team profile, you can see the squad that played the previous game. And you'll probably notice a lack of players you can recognise. You can see up top, we did go with Prince Amanda and alongside him Yard. Just a great opportunity for these young Canadian players to get game time now. And it does leave us in a situation where going into this game against the Fury, we are at full strength, which is absolutely fantastic. Now you can see here a little bit of transfer news. We have agreed a preliminary deal to sign Kading Chung from Pacific at the end of the year when his contract expires. The reason for signing this guy is kind of simple. We don't have great fullbacks. If we wanted to play a system with fullbacks, we would be struggling. This guy can play left back and right back. He's either-footed. He can also play right midfield, which I think we will train him in because he could be a good option out in that position. And of course, he's a young Canadian player on a free transfer, £500 a week, not the biggest earner. Granted, he's not had the best start to his time at Pacific, but I'm hoping that with a little bit of TLC, we can develop him into a fine player because he's not going to be the oldest player. He's going to join us when he's 21, and I think there's quite a lot to like about him. But anyway, in terms of our team news for the game against the Fury today, you can see we are in a really, really good situation. We're pretty much at full strength. No players on international duty this time, which is always a bonus. You'll notice here that our kind of senior team has got a little larger. That is because of all the younger players that we brought in. Of course, players who are under the age of 18 or 18 or younger on the 1st of January of this year at the start of the season don't have to be registered. So despite the squad limit of 23 players for league games, because we've got so many of these young players we're promoting up through the ranks, we're in a situation where we can give them game time but still have a pretty large squad registered. Anyway, this is the team we're going to go with. You might be a little bit surprised to see Diallo not playing. He's a player who hit the ground really running and started off superbly. Since then, he's been a little bit hit and miss, and Sakaria and Tommy Amiobi really have shone as our standout players. You can see Sakaria here has 6 goals and 2 assists in 5 starts and 1 appearance on off the bench, and Tommy really has been the standout player as of late. You can see in the league he's got 6 goals and 1 assist, a really good average rating as well. And to be honest, he's just been putting in great performances as the captain. But anyway, let's get into today's game against the Fury. In terms of team selection, it's fairly standard. Just a cool few little bits of news. You can see here, Lincourt Joseph can now play left midfield, which is a position we were training him in. You can see here as well, Alan Zebi can now play centre defensive mid, so that's good news there. And, well, across the whole team, Bruno Zebi, you can see he can now play left midfield as well. So all this training that we've been doing for the first half of the year to try and just give ourselves as many, I guess, options when it comes to rotation has started to pay off. With it being a 23-man squad, versatility in the players is really, really important here in Canada. And it's something that we definitely have in our team. Anyway, this is the team we're going to go with. It's the first leg of the Canadian Championship quarter-final against the Fury. It's our first time meeting them. I'm sure it won't be our last. Of course, you might not put them up there as the same calibre of opposition as some of the MLS big dogs, you know, the likes of Vancouver, the Whitecaps, obviously, the Montreal Impact and Toronto FC. But against our rivals here, a team who do have history with Edmonton. We used to compete in the same American kind of football league many years ago. We're going to want to beat them when we come up against them. It's not going to happen every year for sure, but when it happens, I want to assert dominance. And of all the teams that you can get in the quarterfinals here, bearing in mind that 2 of the 3 MLS sides do go in at this stage, as well as the Fury, and then 3 teams who qualified through the earlier rounds enter this competition. I feel like this is the easier of the opposition. So we'll see how we get on here. Early on, dominating possession, which is absolutely superb. And, well, we're looking very good here. Mortozzi to Lincourt Joseph, playing that number 10 role for us, to Edwini Bonsu out on the right. Tries to get it in. It's blocked by Tissot. They might now look to hit us on the break. I feel like when we're at home in this kind of game, we need to just give it our all. We're going to be a lot stronger, I think, in the home legs of these games against the big teams. You know, with our crowd behind us, cheering us on. In the crowd, we're going to need them. And while Lincourt Joseph is going to seek inspiration, and he's going to find the back of the net. Tommy Amiobi with the assist. Lincourt Joseph, he scored a hell of a lot of goals, you might remember, right at the start of the season, in the first game of the season. Since then, he's cooled off a little bit. He's slowed down. But, well, he seems to like the live comms, doesn't he? Lovely build-up play. Can I just say, that was absolutely superb. Exactly what I want to see from our team. Patient build-up play, crafting out good opportunities. Yes, it was a bit of a pop shot from range, but it was a good finish, to say the very least. Anyway, looking to build from the back here, something that we definitely like to do. Our midfield is very capable of coming deep for the ball and then bringing it forward. And I feel like the sheer athleticism that we do have in the midfield, we have very, very quick players, really helps us in the transition up the pitch. We have players who, with the ball at their feet, can bring it forward if need be. Anyway, Moses here to link up Joseph. Now with Osorio, I think he is the only player, Osorio, in our starting 11 today who doesn't start at Edmonton and isn't playing for them in real life. He was one of the few signings that we made during the summer. And to be honest, he's looked very, very good out on the left-hand side. Anyway, the ball surrendered by the Fury here. We're going to look to build it with Temguia, who now passes it on to Mortozzi. Now with Edwini Bonsu, the former Canadian international. I say former, he could still be called into contention. With passes like that, get him on the plane for the World Cup in 5 years' time. I don't care if he's going to be 34 when it comes around. I'd say in 5 years' time. It's in 7 years, he will be 36. But get him on the plane. Plays the ball through. Sakaria, lovely finish. That's just a superb cross in. And the finish is cool and composed. I feel like we've got a system here that's really working. And you can see the Fury are playing a bit of an odd system, really. They're playing with 3 attacking midfielders. And unlike perhaps the conventional 4-2-3-1 you see in Football Manager with 2 centre mids, they are choosing to play with defensive midfielders. And well, Connor James to the rescue. What a stop that is by him. But I feel like because of this big gap between their 2 centre mids and the more attacking midfielders, it's just giving our 4-man midfield, who, as I've talked about, are very good when it comes to their mobility. They're just having so much room and space and time to play in, which I think is pretty good as far as we're concerned. Anyway, we're 2 goals to the good here. As I said, this is going to be the first game that we do today. We're also going to take on Cavalry in the Al Clasico derby. So that's going to be another big game. 2 derbies today. It's all about the rivalries. And, well, we'll have to see how we get on. You can see here, we're beating the Fury 2-0. HFX Wanderers are losing to Valor 3-1 in their first leg. And Vancouver v Montreal is currently 1-0. Worth noting that in this database, the MLS teams in real life don't meet each other at this stage. It would normally be that Montreal would play one of these teams and then one of the Canadian Premier League teams would play one of the other teams. This competition, the Canadian Championship, has literally one of the most confusing formats I've ever seen for a knockout competition. I'll try and remember to get a picture of it, like the bracket, for this year so you can see how it works. The graphic makes it seem really simple, but for me to try and convey it in words would be difficult, and to try and replicate it in Football Manager is near impossible to do perfectly. So it's the best we can do. And, well, I'm glad that we've been drawn against the Fury of all the teams we could have met. Firstly, because it is theoretically the easier of the games. There was a lot of talk that the Ottawa Fury might join the Canadian Premier League for its first year. It didn't happen. There is still talk it might happen in the next few seasons. I think it's the management of the Fury that aren't so keen on the idea. But yeah, I think the Fury probably are fairly comparable to Canadian Premier League teams in quality, at least in Football Manager. In real life, they might slightly have the edge. It's very difficult to tell at this early stage. I feel like the overall quality of the Canadian Premier League hasn't really been figured out just yet. Anyway, we've made our quality really kind of stand out today, and we're going to hopefully keep it going here through Mortozzi. A 3rd goal here could kill off the tie before we meet them again away from home. And while the ball whipped in, the header by Marcelin. Lovely, lovely header. And you can see there, very often with a system like this where you have a defensive midfielder, you wouldn't have them on support. You'd have them being more defensive. But because we have 3 centre-backs, I feel like we can tell our centre defensive mid to get higher up the pitch. And as you saw here, like Marcelin is getting very, very high up the play. You can see he picks up the ball here, the ball-winning midfielder on support. And because he's on support, he's not afraid to occasionally push forward. He isn't kind of the anchor of the team like a conventional defensive midfielder. And making runs from deep like that, he can do wonders for us. Anyway, we could get another goal here. Tomoyami Obi, back post, free header. I would have backed our captain to score that. Unfortunately, he's headed it wide of the post. But, well, it's not going to matter too much in the grand scheme of things, at least for this first leg result. I'm hoping that isn't going to be a bit like the Dembele miss for Barcelona, in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final against Liverpool, where in the dying seconds of the game, Barcelona could have scored a 4th to kill off the tie. Despite being 3 goals up, we can't get too carried away with that. You can see here the Gemma Carsten Smith from the Canadian Press predicted a draw going into the game. And, well, apparently the loss is going to hurt Ottawa. Let's just have a look. How are they doing in the championship? Oh, of course, I've not got the championship loaded. So we don't know how they're doing. But they're a good team. I mean, you can see here, looking at their scout report, this is relative to our team. They have lots of 4-star players when compared to our team. So you'd probably say, on the face of it, they're the better side. Which makes this result here all the more pleasing. Dominated possession, dominated the play, looked very, very good. And that is going to do us wonders going into the second leg, which is going to be in a little while, actually. You can see it's actually only going to be in 2 weeks' time, but the way that fixtures are stacking up, that is going to be a game that is, well, not super immediately. Rotation is definitely going to be something we need with this kind of fixture congestion. You can see we're playing 6 to 7 games a month for the next couple of months at least, and with a 23-man squad, the fact that we are in a position where we can afford to rotate the team, where the autumn season isn't the be-all or end-all, probably is a bit of a blessing, really. Anyway, we're going to go forward to the Cavalry game. It's only in 3 days' time, but I'm going to rotate the team ahead of it. I'll join you guys for that match day. It's going to be the El Clasico. It's going to be at home against them. Last time we met, it was 3-0. The kids are going to get a chance to show us what they're made of. So yeah, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a second. Okay guys, so we are back here for the second game of today's episode. I thought we'd just have a quick look at the Canadian Premier League kind of overview, just a little update, I guess, to how things are looking. You can see, in terms of odds, we are going up in the expectations and estimations of people. We are now, in fact, second in the media prediction table behind Valor. They are one of the teams that have really been a problem for Forge FC and have been beating them quite a lot. When we've met Valor, we've done okay, so I guess a reason for optimism there. In terms of the Media Dream 11, Soria is still the only player of our own who's in this team. For now. And the reason I say for now is because Caden Chung, interestingly enough, is actually in the Media Dream 11 at right back, which is interesting because if we just compare him to Azua, who is a player who's already at the team for us, who plays a similar position, you'd probably argue that Azua is the better player. But of course, the Media Dream 11 is mostly just based off reputation and a few other various factors. It's not just exact science of who the best players are. You can see here we have actually made 2 signings at the start of this month, just a couple of days ago. It's worth going over these. They are players for the under-21s, but we might as well give them shout-outs. The first player is Elson Leon. He is 15 years old. He's got 6 international caps for Colombia, but he was found by our scouts because he's part Canadian, which is an interesting combination, Canadian and Colombian, and we've signed him from the Victoria Academy. He looks like a good little player. And the other player we found was John Goldhar. He is playing for the Canadian under-20s national team. Obviously, when a player is aged 15 and is playing for the international team, they kind of quickly appear on your radar as a player to have an eye on. You can see here we are doing extensive scouting of all the different youth teams, keeping an eye on things when it comes to who are the young Canadian prospects to really be aware of. It's something that, with the save game, I would love to get to a point potentially where we maybe don't even have any foreign players at all. We have an entire Canadian team and we really kind of focus on our kind of domestic success and really that mentality of developing a really successful Canadian side. That might be something that as we go through things we might look to do. You can see this is the team that we are going to have for today's game against Cavalry. It's a little unusual, it's a little different. We are the favourites coming into this game, although our form is listed as inconsistent. Cavalry have lost their first 2 games of the year, so you'd expect us to beat them today. In the other fixtures going on, HFX Wanderers, or Halifax Wanderers, are taking on Pacific FC. I believe... Actually, I was going to say I believe that's the last game of the spring split. It's not. Did the spring split officially conclude yet? It hasn't. When do Valor play... when do Pacific play Forge? They actually play in 2 days' time. So that will be when that season officially finishes. Although, of course, we know we've got the playoff spot. We can now focus on the autumn table. But yes, the team for today's game is rotated. Some names that you won't be quite so familiar with. Of course, Connor James in goal is just the standard first choice goalkeeper. He's been superb this year. He's improved a hell of a lot. I feel like he has won us games single-handedly. He's only got 3 clean sheets in 11 games, which really isn't the best defensive record from us, but obviously our big strength is the fact we score a lot. Across the back, we've got Soria. Kyle Walton is going to be at left centre-back, of course. At right centre-back, we're going to go with Didic. Very, very good player in the air. When we've called upon him, he's done the business for us, so I'm hoping he can do it again for us here. We've got Alan Zebi playing that ball-winning midfielder role. We then have WorkTheSpace playing on the left wing. He is one of Edmonton's big hot prospects in real life. A very, very talented player. Very, very quick. Let's see what he can do today. He's got a chance to shine on the big stage. We've got Azua out on the right-hand side. A player who's been a bit unfortunate. Of course, he's kind of second fiddle in our team to Edwini Bonsu. And he was out for, you can see here, 5 weeks with a twisted ankle back in May. So he did miss a lot of the spring splits, but he's going to get another chance to shine here. In the centre midfield positions, we're going to go with Son, a player who I feel like is perhaps a little underrated in Football Manager. He's a player who pretty much plays everywhere for the Eddies in real life. I think he's actually been playing quite a lot on the left wing. For us, though, he's going to be our rock in the centre of the midfield. Alongside him, we're going to go with Valet, a player who I signed, and I wasn't sure quite how much he was going to play for us, but he looked like a very talented centre mid. And that's kind of what he's transpired to be. A good backup, good versatile player, a rotation option who we can call upon for games like today. Up top, we are going to go with Diallo. He's had a bit of a lack of game time as of late, so a chance for him to come in and show us what he's made of. And alongside him, we are going to go with Prince Amanda, like WorkTheSpace, another player who is a product of the Edmonton Academy, plays for them in real life. Very excited about him. On the bench, plenty of familiar names, players like Tem Guia, who's played a lot this year. But alongside those players, a few younger players like Justin Yard, who I would love to bring on for his live commentary debut at some point today. And we have also got Deshays here, who is an exceptional player who I'm really excited about. Came from our academy, of course, and you can see the work that he's been doing for the Albertan Major Soccer League kind of side has been superb. 5 goals and 3 assists from central attacking mid. He is very inconsistent, very injury prone, and not very good in the air when it comes to his heading. So he's on the bench. I'm a little bit scared of his injury proneness and his inconsistency. They are 2 factors that, if he wasn't as good as he is, and if he wasn't one of our own prospects, I probably wouldn't sign him because of those 2 factors. But we have to put those to the back of our mind because he's a homegrown player. He's one of the Edmonton's kind of, big hopes for the future, at least in our save game here. And he could come on for his debut. I don't think he's actually made an appearance yet for us. But anyway, let's get into this game. It's another home tie. It's the El Clasico number 2, Electric Boogaloo. It's going to be against Cavalry FC. A rotated team might make things a little bit interesting, but given the fact that Cavalry have struggled to start this season, I'm hoping we can do well. You can see that their team fitness is perhaps a little bit of a concern. The fixture congestion is definitely real here in Canada. Every team has to deal with it at different points, and Cavalry are no exceptions. Anyway, they've got the ball here with Malonga, who is going to give it to Kamango, who plays the ball through. Didic is going to read that. He is very pale, isn't he? He's like Casper the Friendly Ghost, is Didic. He's not... He looks like... He's like white, like sheet white, like he's just seen a ghost in game. It's a little bit scary. So surreal, to be fair. Looks weird. Anyway, Velado Taskai. I'm sorry, dude. I'm terrible with names. If I get names wrong, or if I can do a better job, please help me out in the comments. I'm sure some of you guys know exactly how to say names. And while Valet, what an effort that was by him. Not far over the crossbar with that slightly long-range speculative effort. I think the players to really keep an eye out for me are Diallo and Prince Amanda up top. One thing that I actually forgot to talk about as we get bailed out by Connor James, and then who was that with the block? It was Zebi. What a block that was off the line. But one thing I forgot to talk about is the fact that Duke, who is one of our strikers, he's one of Edmonton's real strikers in real life. He's been, for us, 4th choice. He's come to me and complained about lack of first-team football, and we're in the process of securing him a loan move. He's got the choice of Forge FC or Pacific FC to be a backup player. But with that loan move happening, we are going to be potentially relying on Diallo more. But there's also going to be opportunities for the likes of Prince Amanda in the first team more regularly. So that'll be something to maybe keep an eye on as the season progresses. Anyway, Valet down the left-hand side here, gives it wide. Ball crossed in and blocked, but Azua is there. Can he score? He can't. His shot goes just wide of the mark. Of course, Azua is a right-back turned right midfielder. So going forward, he might not be the best, but defensively, I expect big things from him. And while the ball falls to Prince Amanda on the volley, can we get the ball in? We can't. It's a fantastic tackle by Northover. Carducci had the initial save, but his defence bailed him out. And while we have a corner here, unfortunately Diallo cannot guide it goalwards, and I feel like the chance is just going to fizzle out here. Half-time, hardly a classic, would probably be the fairest assessment. They've only had one shot on target to our 4. We've had 70% of the ball. We need to turn that possession into a result. I'm going to tell the players, if we keep playing the way we have been, the result will come. I do really believe in that. We've been so kind of dominant in this first half, just having so much of the ball, creating opportunities. To be fair, Cavalry themselves have had a clear-cut chance and a half chance, so we can't completely dismiss them, but well, hopefully we can turn up at the heat in the second half. And while Diallo here has an effort, perhaps should have, definitely could have, passed it wide there to Prince Amanda, who was clean through on goal. Diallo, the scorer of some wonder goals in earlier games this season in live comms, with a slightly underwhelming finish there, but that perhaps signifies why he has fallen out of contention as one of our starting strikers this year. Halifax Wanderers FC absolutely demolishing Pacific FC 4-0 after 52 minutes there. That is a bit of a demolition job. Anyway, can Kyle Walton make something happen here? We go to Valet. He's going to bring the ball forward. He switches it out onto the right-hand side to Azua here. Can he cross it in? He does. Diallo's there. Free header over the crossbar. And you know what, Diallo? That's going to be the last bit of play you have today, because I've been underwhelmed. We're going to bring in Justin Yard for his debut. The Canadian under-20 international has a reasonable goal-scoring record at that level. And I think we might go and make another change as well. I'm going to bring in Bruno Zebi, and we're going to bring him on for Azua, who is struggling a little bit with match sharpness, and also just hasn't really had the best game out on the right-hand side. So a double change for us there. You can see they've brought on Jordan Brown onto their right-hand side for Jose Escalante. And they're making another change with Moro Estacio, I guess is how you might say his name, in the defensive midfielder department. Really those changes for them coming out of necessity due to, well, players being tired. Last 5 minutes of this game, I have to go slightly more attacking. We don't want a second 0-0 draw in a row. Valet's played well. Son has not. So we're going to move Valet to centre mid on support. And we're going to give Kevin Deshays, the 16-year-old hometown hero, a chance to, well, make a mark in this El Clasico. It's a local derby. He will know how important this game is to the fans, the young attacking midfielder. Not a great amount of time for him to make an impact. And, well, since his introduction, absolutely nothing has happened. One of the least eventful games of the year, but maybe slightly concerningly, it is a second draw of the season to start this autumn stage. 2 0-0s back-to-back. And it sees us after, well, 2 games. We're down in 5th. That is Cavalry's first points of the year. Of course, knowing that we have the spring season in the bag does take a little bit of weight off our shoulders when it comes to this autumn season. We can focus on rotating the team, playing a squad like we did for today's game, rotating things to keep things fresh. If we just look at the autumn table here, you can see York have won 2 of their first 3. HFX Wanderers also doing well. Forge have won their only game of the year. And if we compare that to the spring season, I guess you'd be somewhat surprised to see York up there, because they've won 2 of their first 3. In the spring season, they won 3 of their 10 games. Worth noting, of course, the autumn season is going to be 18 matches, so there is plenty of football to be played there. Good to see Gaffer, one of our players, out on loan, doing pretty well for Pacific. He's developed quite well so far. Speaking of loanies, just to talk about that Duke deal that I touched upon during the game, you can see here, he's played a handful of games for us, 2 games total. In the Cup, he's done pretty well for us against weaker opposition, but he wants first-team football. His wages aren't the smallest. There are 2 teams currently interested, Pacific and Forge. We've accepted offers from both of them. They want to loan him to be a backup player to the end of next season, so an 18-month loan potentially. And that would, if we were to loan him out, just open up an opportunity for some of our younger strikers. We would still have the likes of Tommy, Sarkaria and Diallo, but that kind of 4th choice striker position, you'd feel like between Justin Yard and Prince Amanda, we've got 2 young players who are going to be very hungry and fighting for that 4th choice striker kind of squad position. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up everything from me today. In terms of when we'll be back, I think we will do the follow-up game against the Fury. Should be a pretty big game for us. Obviously, great to win 3-0 against them previously. And, well, hopefully I will see you guys for that one. If you have enjoyed today's video, do drop a like on it. Tune in again next time. I'll see you for it again soon. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.